the man known to the world as Charles Manson, was born on November 12, 1934, in Cincinnati, Ohio, during the Great Depression. His mother was only 16 years old at the time, and his childhood began with neglect, instability, and crime surrounding him. He spent much of his early life moving between relatives, reform schools, and juvenile detention centers. From a very young age, he learned that manipulation and deception were tools for survival. By his teenage years, he was already involved in theft, fraud, and violent behavior. Prison became a familiar place for him long before he reached adulthood. Ironically, it was inside prison that he learned the skills that later made him so dangerous. He studied psychology, read books on influence, and learned how to read people's weaknesses. He also taught himself how to play the guitar and began to believe he was destined for fame. When he was released from prison in 1967, America was deep into the counterculture movement. Young people were rejecting authority, experimenting with drugs, and searching for spiritual meaning. He quickly realized this was the perfect environment for someone like him to gain followers. He traveled to California and began attracting young men and women who felt lost or abandoned. He listened to them carefully, mirrored their emotions, and slowly positioned himself as their guide. Many of his followers believed he truly understood them when no one else did. They began calling themselves a family, even though he controlled every aspect of their lives. They lived together in isolated locations, including an abandoned ranch near Los Angeles. Drugs, especially LSD, played a major role in breaking down their sense of reality. Under the influence, his words sounded deeper, more spiritual, and unquestionable. He told his followers that society was corrupt and doomed to collapse. According to him, a massive race war was coming that would destroy the world as they knew it. He called this prophecy Helter Skelter, a term he borrowed from the music of the Beatles. He claimed the songs contained secret messages meant only for him to decode. To his followers, this made him feel chosen, almost divine. They believed he was preparing them to survive the coming apocalypse. As time passed, his teachings became darker and more violent. He began testing his followers' loyalty by ordering small crimes and acts of intimidation. Each act pushed them further away from normal morality. By the summer of 1969, his influence had reached its most dangerous point. He believed violence was necessary to trigger the chaos he had predicted. Instead of committing the murders himself, he chose to send others to do it for him. On the night of August 8, 1969, members of his group entered a home in Los Angeles. Inside that house was actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, along with several guests. They were brutally murdered in a crime that shocked the entire nation. The following night, more murders took place at a different location. These crimes later became known as the Tate LaBianca murders. What horrified investigators was the realization that the man behind it all never held the weapons. He had controlled his followers so completely that they acted without hesitation. The media coverage was relentless, and fear spread across America. Police eventually connected the crimes to the group living at the ranch. Arrests were made, and the case began to unravel. During the trial, his behavior was disturbing and theatrical. He stared at the jury, smiled during testimony, and carved symbols into his own forehead. Some of his followers shaved their heads and carved the same marks in solidarity. Despite overwhelming evidence, several followers continued to believe he was innocent. Prosecutors focused on proving psychological control rather than physical participation. They showed how years of manipulation led ordinary people to commit murder. In 1971, he was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to death, but the sentence was later changed to life in prison when California abolished the death penalty. Behind bars, his notoriety only grew. He gave interviews, wrote letters, and continued to attract followers from outside prison.
Tell me in a sentence who you are. Nobody.
Books and documentaries examined his crimes in disturbing detail. One of the most famous accounts was the book Helter Skelter, which exposed the full scope of the case. As the years passed, his physical health declined, but his infamy never faded. He spent decades moving between different prisons in California. On November 19, 2017, he died in prison at the age of 83, due to natural causes. His death marked the end of his life, but not the end of his story. Today, his case is studied as one of the most extreme examples of cult manipulations. It serves as a warning about how charisma, when combined with vulnerability, can become lethal. His story is not just about murder, but about influence, control, and blind belief. It reminds us that evil does not always appear violent at first. Sometimes it arrives quietly, offering understanding, belonging, and purpose. And by the time the truth is visible, it is already too late.